waiting for a train. A train that'll take you far away. You know where you hope this train will take you, but you can't know for sure. Yet it doesn't matter. Now tell me why.
Because you'll be cheat codes.
It's February 25th.
Hey.
2016. Welcome to episode 86 of the Cheat Codes podcast.
Sorry, we were screaming a little bit.
Great job, Pearce. Thank you for tuning in, listener. It's a beautiful day in Washington today. The next hour is us drinking a few beers and going over our favorite bits from the past week in video game, tech, and pop culture news. My name is Joe Arroyo. I am your host. I'm sitting in for Joe Erskine this week, who is busy staring at a spinning top, wondering if it will ever fall over. Today we are coming to you from inside a sinking Econoline van that just fell off a bridge. Also, we're asleep. Today I'm here with Cheat Codes contributor Mr. Nick Eames Golish.
Hey, how's it going?
Cheat Codes contributor Mr. Bernard Arthur Hung.
Hello.
And we're welcoming back Cheat Codes consigliere and Disney Imagineer intern Pearce Bergh.
Hey.
Malberg.
Oh, I didn't yell that time, darn it.
Pearce Bergh. Today on the show, we'll fall backwards in our chairs into the bathtub of the following main topics. Warren Spector thinks mainstream games aren't making a lot of progress these days. A thoughtful dev took the time to explain why his game costs $20 in probably the best open letter from a dev of all time. And how does one display play? We'll take a look at games in museums. For today's lightning round, we'll fold the cities in on themselves that are the following bits. Apparently, games get delayed when there aren't enough pre-orders now. And lastly, a Forbes piece believes Nintendo should avoid Hollywood like the plague. Hi, Pearce.
Hey.
Thanks for being on the show.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Hey,
you want to fill us in on what's different from the last time you were here to...
Well, actually, funny story. The last time I was here, which was in January, I had gotten the job 2 days before we recorded the podcast, but I didn't sign the contract yet.
So you couldn't talk about it.
So I couldn't talk about it, but now I have, and I am going to be interning at Disney Imagineering in their R&D department as a software engineer this summer, and I can't wait.
That's awesome.
So you're making Star Wars Land?
Hopefully.
Pretty much.
Hopefully.
That's what you just said.
Hopefully I get a chance to do that. So,
Star Tours
yeah.
2.0, 3.0.
Basically, our group works on all sorts of things with Disney, like rides and like parks and cruises and planes and all that sort of stuff.
Trains and automobiles.
Probably trains. Oh,
Planes, trains, automobiles.
Yeah, we're gonna make. Oh, no. Just,
Yeah, right. We keep a lot of secrets on the show, if you didn't notice.
Yeah,
Because last
right.
time we had to bite our tongue through the whole episode and just call him, thanks for being on the show, Pearce Bergh, some guy that nobody... Never, anyway.
Yeah, right. But I don't actually know many details about my job yet. But I start in May, so...
Well, you'll know when you know.
But I'm moving to LA.
Cool. So,
Yeah.
any listeners in LA, hit up
Hang out with me.
Pearce.
It'll be
He's
just
gonna
like a
have great
podcast.
place.
It'll be like 1/4 of a podcast. It'll be great.
Yeah, he'll let you sleep on his couch. It'll be
Oh,
great.
yeah.
I don't think he'll own a couch.
I probably won't.
Probably not.
It's gonna be great.
All right, very quickly, let's talk about what we're washing this episode down with. As our carefully crafted dreamscapes crumble away, what better way to shuffle out the old and bring in the new with a with a celebratory and properly paired beverage? I appreciate the sigh. This is fantastic. We're enjoying some Saison de Bretteville from the folks at the Almanac Beer Company. This not only goes well with Inception, but the fine folks at Player.fm have generously added us to their show roster, so thank you. And if we play our cards right, we're probably getting featured on their platform as well. So cheers to them, and cheers to you for listening. No, real, let's do it. Where's the clinky at? Yeah. Woo! All right. Cool. Plenty to talk about today, so let's get to it. All right. So the legendary designer Warren Spector, responsible for titles like Deus Ex, gave an interview to Gamasutra recently and seemed afraid to say the following, quote, "I can't believe I'm about to say this. I'll never work in this industry again, but in the mainstream space, I really haven't seen a whole lot of progress," end quote. He added that a lot of popular games are just prettier and better tuned, essentially, but not really anything new or different. Is he right? Or do we just treat this like a Chris Nolan movie and let him trust us to make sense of it?
Well, I don't know if he's 100% right, but I do agree that the indie movement, like that whole scene, is pushing forward more than the like AAA studios, and they're making some really interesting stuff, especially with the VR. You don't see many. I mean, Valve's making VR itself, and Facebook's making VR.
Yeah,
But people making games are just small people.
Yeah, if you think about it, there may not be that many like companies out there that are actually pushing VR. Like the big companies, it's always like these smaller companies or mid-sized companies that are actually pushing VR. So that's kind of interesting. I guess I never thought about that.
Boom.
Good
so
work.
outside of VR, why? What you said, indies pushing?
Well, I mean, The Witness just came out, and that's like a callback back to all the way to Myst, and you don't see any other no AAA game or studio is going to make a game like that.
Why?
Probably because it's kind of boring.
People, it's not going to sell to a million people.
Is it though?
I don't
Rocket
know.
League.
Oh, but hey, didn't that start as indie?
Well,
that's your point.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
That's not the point. The point is there's no guarantee it's going to sell to a million people. If they make the same game again, then it's going to sell to a million people.
Right. That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
It's always about back data, right? If you go and pitch to major publishers, they might sit around and say, that's a really cool, novel, unique idea that you have there, indie studio. But no, we will not fund it. And it's not that we didn't like it. It's that we don't have any previous data to show whether or not this will be successful. And thus the risk is too great for us to give you millions of dollars to make it. So we'd rather you go make it on your own with your own money until you starve half to death with no free time or any income, and then pray to God that it's a success.
I guess.
Good luck.
I mean, that seems really like dark and dreary, but is anybody actually really expecting anything different? Like, I feel like that's just the natural order of things. Like, you got blockbuster movies, and then you got Sundance films, and then you got AAA titles, and then you got indie games. And, like, maybe people enjoy those big blockbusters a lot, but there's also a huge market for the indie games. So, I don't know.
It's also more practical.
They can both coexist.
Yeah, it's also way more practical to make indie games for the most part. I mean, you can just sort of like sit in your basement.
Well, it depends on how extensive you want to make it.
Exactly, and that's
the
I mean,
thing.
look,
Feature creeps.
Minecraft was an indie game.
Yeah.
So
true.
And look at where that got us.
They'll buy it later. Yeah. Like Microsoft will swoop in and be like, "Oh, hey, remember that thing we passed on?"
And that's kind of like the ultimate dream, is to make something, have Microsoft buy it.
Right. Bernard, do you think there's a world where AAA companies will just go ahead and take risks like this? Is that a possibility in our great capitalistic society?
I don't think like a AAA studio would probably take on like the development of something that's, crazy innovative, or something that's, totally out of, or like totally, blue ocean. But I think, AAA publishers, they tend to, or there's been a shift in which they tend to like fund smaller indie games. Like, was it recently Gone Home? Was a Ubisoft published title, and it's just totally something different. So I think we can get a mix. I think we can get publishers to do that. But if we're expecting like a AAA studio to spend like 3 to 5 years working on like this crazy new title, it's probably not going to happen because of high risks.
Yep. Next from 343 Industries, you are a primordial ooze swimming about.
Well, once again, we can go back to The Witness, and it took Jonathan Blow even more than 5 years to make his game, because he was like, I want to create a game like this, but it hasn't been done in a long time, and I don't know how it's going to work. So it took him so long that he had to use his own money that he made off Braid to fund that game, and it took so long that like no one was going to back that.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's weird because we need it though, and now that there's so many tools that can actually represent indie titles appropriately and make it more manageable for smaller teams, like enter Unreal and Unity with their free programs and stuff like that. It's kind of an amazing thing, like the track we're on right now, where we're going to see these really great games actually possible, and they don't need everybody to step in. It's kind of like that music revolution that we started seeing, I don't know, 5 to 10 years ago, actually, where once recording software became affordable at home, people were capable of just putting out a whole album by locking themselves in their closet with a couple hanging sheets, right? And they were putting out records, and the record labels were like, "Oh fuck, like what do we do?"
And I mean, that also led to with music, that led to Bandcamp, SoundCloud, all these things where now you can just get so many different kinds of music just right at your fingertips that you would never hear otherwise. And same thing's going on with games, and I love it.
Yeah,
it's a great time to be alive.
So Spector, on that note, is recognizing this thing, and he wants to get in on the indie mix because he does want to take risks. And so his whole concept was just announcing that he wanted to join Other Side Entertainment, the team working on the new System Shock game, and he'd be leaving his teaching position at the University of Texas as well. He's not moving because I can't remember.
No, I remember. He's opening up a really small office in Austin where he is,
and so he's going to communicate remotely with the team, and he's going to bring in like 10 or so people in his smaller office and focus on just not running a company, but rather building a game where he can take risks. And I think that's pretty cool. I mean, one of the things he mentioned was that what we've done really well in AI, I'm really interested about your thoughts on this, is we've been great at combat AI for so long because we've done so many shooters in terms of AAA games.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really amazing stuff with combat AI, but he thinks that AI is incredibly lacking in the actual character development or you getting connected with an artificial intelligence character.
Hey, yeah, totally.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
I agree with that. But I think ever since BioShock Infinite, it actually showed that you can have a companion that can actually have pretty smart AI and you can actually care about it. With Elizabeth, I think was her name. It's been like 3 years since I played that, whatever it came out.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and so I think AI going in that direction, they really only have been combat up until then, and so I'm glad people are finally branching out. I just took an AI class, so I'm kind of interested in this and all those different fields of study within AI.
And most of what you learned in your AI class was probably A-star pathfinding and how to do,
like terrain analysis
and flocking behaviors.
Yeah,
and
but we also did we wrote behavior trees as well as some state machines and figured out we talked about like games that implemented these and how they were the first to do it and why they're used or they're not used now. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty fun.
Can you think of some games, Bernard, that have really robust character AI from outside of the combat perspective?
Not really. I guess Warren Spector makes a good point about how it's mostly just combat focused right now. The only thing that really stands out to me, and this is maybe near a decade old, but if anyone's familiar with the game Facade, in which you go into an apartment, and what you do is you type on your computer whatever statement you want, and then the two characters in the apartment will react to you, and then you sort of figure out the story in that way, and there's no combat at all. It's just talking through dialogue, and through your words you can facilitate actions caused by these two other guys or two other characters.
I do remember this.
I remember, yeah.
A couple of years ago.
It was a long time ago.
No, I recall though a couple of years ago being, I think maybe even freshman year in college, just everybody went through a phase where they were playing it in the cafeteria.
Really?
Yeah.
I missed that.
And just
that game was
see what
ridiculous
outcomes
and funny.
They could get.
We actually talked about it in our AI class. And
there was a class. It was in the AI class.
Yeah,
I think
we even talked about it.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to take the reins here and explain to the listener and maybe an example of how an outcome works? Because just saying you type stuff and it changes the outcome won't give it.
I think one of the things he says I can't remember what the example is or something. He opens the door and then
you walk in and then it's a couple fighting and you're supposed to go.
You don't know
a
that
party.
they're acting like a normal couple at first.
Yeah, you hear them outside. You're outside and you hear them fighting, and then they come open the door and act like everything's fine, and then you kind of just play through that. It's not much of a game like you might typically play combat or anything.
I just remember at one point they tried to just say something the first time he opened the door. He opened the door and he's like. He says some random word or he says penis or something. And the guy just looks at him and shuts the door and the game ends.
That's one playthrough. Yeah, it's like Stanley Parable.
It's an interesting game, and I think the best way to explain it is actually have people play it, because this was released maybe 10 years ago as someone's doctorate about AI in games.
Oh, okay.
It was his project with one other person, and they released that. And it's just all about interpreting your input, what you type as actual dialogue, and then they react to it.
I'm glad that the developer did his due diligence in the recognizing TTC and doing something about it. TTC. Yeah. If I hear the word cock, close the door. Yeah.
Right. I think it's pretty cool, because I think this isn't something that I really thought about was all these AAA companies are putting out the same games over and over again, and they're refining these technologies, not necessarily just AI, to make these same games even better. There's no real manpower going into changing the way AI works, or the way maybe even graphics works, or the way just different control mechanics work or something. And that's pretty interesting. Maybe that's the biggest downside of the AAA industry pushing or not.
Here's an example with VR right now too. We were seeing the game that Marty O'Donnell's working on after he left Bungie. And they're working on a VR game where you control your character entirely with your head motion. So you never have to move, because that solves the problem of not being able to actually move in your space with VR. And now you have this game where leaning your neck moves the character forward. So you are an analog stick,
no way.
basically.
Sounds great.
It's kind of interesting. I have obviously hadn't had any hands-on experience with it because it's not out. But I read an article recently about it where they were trying to describe it as best as they could. And also what they described most was that, no, it's not as breaknecky as you'd expect. You will over exaggerate the motions initially, but the people who get really good at it, you'll see them move like very, very, very little.
I bet.
And it ends up apparently feeling really good. So how would you know? How do you convince that to a major publisher? Like, give me $30 million to make this game where you control it with your neck.
They would never do it because their consumer would then have to buy a VR headset, and that wouldn't allow them to sell 1 million copies of the game. So that's
a different issue.
I don't know.
But that would be like, okay, let me give you an example, one that doesn't involve a peripheral that they have to purchase. Let's say somebody came out with a game that's only playable with your toes on the controller.
It has toe sensors.
Yeah, no, it's on the controller. It doesn't work unless you use your toes for some reason.
How does the...
I don't know. It's not a real game.
Actually, there are people who do speedruns of like Super Mario 64, and they only play with their feet.
I believe that.
And they are good. So, checkmate. Figured you out.
Yeah.
Well, there was the one guy who I think it was a joke or something. He's like, "Oh, everybody's playing Dark Souls with guitar controllers, and I'm just gonna stick a
Oh, what was it? What did
the PlayStation Move controller up my butt and wiggle around to try to beat the game." And it's like,
well, did he beat it?
Yeah, I think
this
it was a joke.
This was an article that should be in the Onion.
Yeah.
It was totally satire, but it was funny because we were reaching that age where every difficult game was played with every peripheral imaginable. So it's like, why not just shove a PlayStation Move controller up my ass?
Well, somebody beat some game blind or something just recently, I remember.
Yeah.
Well, people can play all of Punch-Out on like the SNES blind.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, I think it was like...
probably a hard game.
Yeah, harder game.
So, to get back on topic, other than having the user reinvent the boring AAA games that keep coming out, it seems like the average gamer is getting completely bored with the same iterations of AAA games that they have to shove controllers up their ass. Wait, that one's not true. But all the other things.
Hey, Black Ops 4?
Their numbers aren't showing that they're getting bored, though. I mean...
Exactly.
Their video game sales are probably up, and they're making even more money than ever because they're selling season passes, and it's... I don't know. It's... it sucks.
It's necessary.
It is necessary, but...
For this, like, this trade-off where you have the AAA and you have the indie... Because as indie games become successful, there becomes data about games like Rocket League, and then a AAA game can come out later that does it in the big scale that everybody's like, oh my god.
Just imagine Dota when that originally came out. I mean, it was a Warcraft 3 mod, and there was no data about MOBAs at all, and somebody created this mod, and then it became like the biggest thing ever, and now we have esports, and they're paid more than anybody else. It's ridiculous. I don't know. That was a tangent, I guess, but... No,
it wasn't. Yeah. It's a perfect, perfect point.
I know.
It's about getting in the mix, in the ground level. You could say, basically, that independent games is the ground level of gaming, because they're the ones who get to plant the seeds, and they're the ones who get to really experiment and try new things that have never been done before. And then if those take and hold, right, then AAA games grab them and they do bigger things with them or whatever. Whether or not that's a good thing is up for debate, but essentially, right, it's a necessary thing to have them, is it not?
Well, I think it's necessary, like blockbuster movies or something. We get some great action flicks once in a while, and
yeah, Demolition Man, Jesus Christ.
And there were a few years well, I'm saying there were a few years there where we were getting really shitty superhero movies. And then after a while, we started getting really good ones because they proved that people wanted to actually go see these, but the production wasn't there yet. But because people wanted to go see all these like really shitty Spider-Man, X-Men movies, or even you could even argue like the Batman movies were really bad, like the original ones and stuff, of course. But now it's the biggest like seller in Hollywood now. I feel like the comic book movies. I don't know. I feel like the same thing is going to happen with the game industry, where like people are going to realize what's good in the indie market and then translate it to the AAA game, and that may be a bad thing. Where like, oh, we're just going to get the same new butt controller mechanics out of it, out of every.
The day Microsoft makes the game, this peripheral fits in your ass perfectly.
Yeah. Nintendo already did it with their amiibos, but if you saw the article. What the best 100 amiibos to stick up your butt?
Yeah, look that up. Listen,
As a previous podcast, right?
Yeah.
Would you?
But I don't think it's a necessary thing. It kind of sucks, but we'll get there.
Can you guys think of any games that they released as an indie title and then they made a sequel as a AAA? Like the same development, they got like bought by something.
Well, in a way, he made the point, I suppose, with Dota. In that
that's way different. That wasn't
Dota
like
2?
It's not that different. I mean, like League, I think you could make the argument that League when it started was independent.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
completely when it came out, and then I guess they kind of turned themselves into a AAA over time.
Oh yeah,
through the-
definitely.
That's true.
Yeah.
I guess, okay, so explicitly then, before we move on, is there a game you can think of where number one was an indie title and then the sequel was a AAA? Is that what you're
Just
saying?
the immediate sequel
Yeah.
or a sequel later down, maybe like there were more than one or something.
Maybe like the same people, really.
Maybe like Duke Nukem, I could think of as one. Or like that was really a small studio, I think, at first.
Well, they were
And then
all small studios back in the day.
They were, but then later on,
That's like 90s.
people were trying to put out a game that took like a decade to make or something. And then,
Oh, you're talking about Duke Nukem Forever?
no, I'm talking about the original one, the
Oh,
side
okay.
scroller one.
Yeah.
Like on
Oh,
PC.
Yeah.
No, I can't think of any games in like recent history that
I can't think
have
of-
really made that jump. I feel like indie developers stay indie, and they might get publishers. Maybe they get an exclusive.
Yeah.
I think we
But-
have to chalk it up to that most indie games that have seen that kind of success where they're getting bought out have been the kind of open world, make your own story games where you
Oh, yeah.
don't make a sequel, you just keep iterating on it.
Minecraft?
Like Minecraft, yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So
Which
they're
is-
there.
yeah.
They're definitely there. I just can't think of one explicitly. If you can, yell at us.
Yeah, I'll
let us
interrupt
know.
later, and we'll
Yeah.
completely change
Tell
topics.
us how
That'd be
dumb.
great.
You guys are so dumb. You don't remember the second title.
You guys don't remember Barbie
right.
game?
Moving on. Games come out all the time. They can range from huge collector's edition bundles that cost hundreds of dollars to free mobile games, if you call them free, whatever the fuck. Whatever. What is often overlooked is the time, money, sacrifice, and circumstances that go into making a game, specifically self-funded indie titles, as we've really been talking about quite a bit so far. So Brigador, made by the small team at Stellar Jockeys, is an early access game that is priced at $20. Just think about what $20 is. Pull out a $20 bill because you have cash on you and look at it for a sec. Apparently, they've received complaints that their game is overpriced. So their devs took to the forums to respond to these complaints in what is possibly the best response possible. It's revealing in a very honest way about the work that goes into making a game and what people give up to actually make it happen. Much of what we've been talking about in the previous topic. So also the game costs less than some Nickelback posters. So I'm going to kick this off.
You know
real
a lot
quick
about that.
Yeah. I know which Nickelback posters are more and which ones are less. All right. So I want to kick it off though real quick with it. It took 5 years to make the game, and I'm glad you said 5 years when you. They're tying in so nicely. It's great. It took 5 years to make this game. Okay, so this is a direct quote from the dev. Okay, here is a list of things that also take about 5 years to do: get a PhD, get married and have 2 children, earn $72,000 at the U.S. minimum wage, win the election and serve a term as president of the United States, fight World War I, develop from an embryo into a person who can speak in complete sentences, fail to qualify for the Olympics twice, start drinking too much and gain 20 pounds because of stress from starting a company and building a game for 5 years, watch all 262 episodes of 2.5 Men, which they do not endorse doing. So there, that puts 5 years of their lives into perspective, I would say. And when people complain about it being $20, how do you feel about it?
I think people complain about a lot of things.
Good.
I don't know. Well, I guess an example about I'm playing Ark right now. It's a dinosaur game. It's fun.
Oh,
I
dinosaurs,
try to get
wow.
Pearce to play with me all the time, but he doesn't like video games apparently.
I played with you before. Whatever.
But I was talking to my friend, and we were getting like attacked by somebody on the server, and I was like, they're probably just buying another account of Ark and then making an alt account and then getting on. And he couldn't understand that somebody else would spend $30 more on a game rather than deleting their character so they can just level up as like an anonymous player on the server. And I was like, you're trying to compare that instead of spending 100 hours leveling up to like level 50 or something, you wouldn't spend $30 more just to save that time and save your old character. And I guess people put a lot of value in the money that they're actually spending on video games, and that kind of put that in perspective for me, I guess. And I couldn't relate to that, I guess.
Okay, why do they value how much? Why are they so frugal with their money when they want to give it away to something electronic like games versus something else?
I don't know. Like,
It costs $20.
I bet a lot of this outrageous.
Like a meal.
Well,
yeah, I know. That's like 2 meals.
It's like one meal
Yeah, I know.
if you have a drink.
I think a lot of this anger from the people who bought this game are coming from, it's probably early access, I believe. Is it? Or is
Yeah.
it? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
early access.
it is.
So it's not gonna be done, and they're probably not gonna be fully satisfied with it, and so they're probably complaining like, this costs too much for it not to be done. And so I haven't played the game, and I don't know how far it is, but I think this post actually does talk about, all the stuff that does go into it. They talked about how they made their own engine from scratch, and
Yep.
they started at a time where Unity, Unreal didn't exist.
And then it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But hey, props to them for making an engine from scratch. We've done that, all of us.
Well, yeah, but for education purposes.
Education.
So there are reasons educational too.
No, it's cool. Yeah, I mean, you have to. The only way to understand this kind of engines fully is to know what it takes to make the thing that you're just pressing one button and making happen.
It takes a lot of work.
Game, make game.
Yeah, it takes those 10,000 hours that per person puts into it.
I think when Minecraft came out,
Thanks,
I paid
Malcolm Gladwell.
I paid $20 or $15 for it, and that was when there were only like 500,000 players at the time or something, or 500,000
Accounts.
Yeah. And that was pretty early in development. I mean, how long has that game been out now?
That would have been like 2009. I want to say
something like
8
that.
or 9.
Yeah.
I think
And
that was like alpha.
yeah,
Oh,
it,
yeah.
it was
Oh,
it was
yeah.
pre-alpha even or something. Alpha, I don't remember, but I still spent $15-$20 on it on early access because I was like, this looks like fun. Like, I'm gonna have fun with this. It's in early access. I accept there's bugs. So, and I wasn't even a programmer at the time, so I didn't even care about, like, I don't know, like, if there were bugs, I still wouldn't even be that upset about it because I'm friggin' building whatever. I'm playing with Legos and fighting zombies. It's like,
I have a question. Early access doesn't mean you pay $20 now and then you pay more as the game gets better. Early access means you get early access, and thus the game will be evolving into the better game, but you just paid $20 before somebody else who paid $20 now.
well, no,
right?
no. Early access, in that situation, it was like, I'll pay, I can't remember exactly, like I said, it was $15 or $20 now instead of paying $30 when the game actually comes out.
And that's still early access, even
Exactly.
on Steam.
Yeah.
Steam Greenlight has that same sort of system like Minecraft did back in the day.
But I guess what I'm responding to the argument that you were mentioning that people make, like, why would I pay $20 for a game that's not finished? Well, you're paying for it only once, and then you get to see it become finished. So if you're along for the ride, what's the problem? If the game is getting better and you get to wake up every couple days to something that's like, oh shit, it's better. Like, they added this and they added that. Like, I know the art guys were talking about how people were telling them that they didn't want the game to ever come out of early access because they were afraid that meant that they'd stop working on it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an inverse thing to me, where you'd feel more compelled to be like, yeah, I'll give you the money to go along, to get on this train with you guys and see where it goes.
This is a problem overall with things like Steam Greenlight, where people have been burned so many times by backing something, and then literally developers just leave. They just stop updating it, or they go, oh, I don't want to make this anymore, but they have all the money. So like a lot of people have been burned and heard stories about their friends being burned about this. And so I think they're almost justified in their anger if the game's not up to par. But still, it's like $20. And also, don't buy early access if you're going to be like that.
It's just, it also comes down to, I think, doing enough research about it. I feel like if you, this game may be buggy and may not run on Macs, and you buy it on a Mac, it's your own damn fault.
I'm
It's
pretty
like,
sure you get a refund.
you could do something about that even. Like, you could a refund, but because Steam offers refunds, but
Yeah, even
They do
after you
now.
finish a game and like it, as we talked about last week.
it's still, I don't know, like $20 is not a lot of money. I mean, what, the minimum like federal wage is going up to like $15 an hour or something. It's like,
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
You can work for, yeah.
yeah. It's like, come on, guys.
They're not going to have jobs.
I don't. It's people want to be more frugal with their spending on video games, but then your argument is like, oh, they got burnt because they spent too much money on other video games that failed. It's like, don't spend your money on those games unless you did proper research or understand that it's early access and there may be bugs.
Bernard, do they give you your money back if they don't finish it in an early access title? Or are you paying for early access because...
No, I think that's a risk you take when you purchase an early access game, is that the title might not get finished and you just lost your money.
Yeah. And you have no idea if that's going to happen. It's just the developer coming along and going, hey... and
you have no idea when. Like, it could have been yesterday.
You don't know if that's going to happen or not.
And they're like, oh, my colleague spent it on strippers and booze. So we're closing.
It's... DVDs, like, not too long ago, I don't know, 10 years ago or something, they were $20-$25 a piece, and people were spending that money, and they were getting an hour of entertainment, and they're complaining about this $20 on this game.
This is a great time to quote the devs one more time in his response. I'll actually let Pearce do this one. This is another direct quote.
All right. Right there. He says, here is a list of things that cost more than $20. A toilet plunger. A trash can. The single article of Calvin Klein's men's underwear. A fruitcake no one will ever eat. The Point Break remake Blu-ray. A calendar. And this Nickelback poster.
Now, what I loved most about this list was that he actually linked to a trash can that cost more than $20. He linked to the calendar that was more than $20. That Nickelback poster. So everything had a legit link to like some item for sale that people were buying that was more than $20.
I think people value video games more than other things they might own or other things they might have to buy, because it is solely for when you're bored and you want entertainment, you want to do this, and if it doesn't give you entertainment, you're going to be upset.
If they value it more, why are they complaining about the price? Like,
I think it's like because there's so much varying choice in games.
Yeah,
like $20 can get you a lot of different games, right? So it's sort of like it sets a expectation of like how much something should be worth. So like this game, like I could spend $20 on this, or I can spend $20 on something else that is like 100 times better in quality. Mm-hmm. So I think that might be a viewpoint that people who are complaining about this might be having.
I agree. That's probably a big problem with it. Like this game is they I can't even speak. It's exactly what you said. Somebody got a worse game for the same price that somebody bought an awesome game, and it does feel a little bit unfair, I suppose. But
it's a major comparative problem.
Yeah,
I think, because it's not tangible. So you can look at like two pots and be like, this pot is not broken. This pot is broken.
I think a game is there purely for entertainment value. It's not something you do need. Whereas with that list, you do need like a toilet plunger. You do need a trash can. You do need that Dingleback poster.
Did you say Dingleback? I don't know why I heard Dingleback.
He said Dingle twice today already.
I'm on a roll, but I think that's why people are more angered over that. And I think that's almost a silly list to put up there when it's like, these are kind of things people need to live. I don't need a video game to live. It helps me live. Like, it makes me happy, but so does a trash can. Otherwise, there's just garbage on my floor.
Okay, fair enough. But I guess it's maybe that lack of understanding that people have sacrificed a lot of the things they probably need to live well in order to make that thing that you don't need to live.
Yeah.
And that's not really something that garners merit in terms of saying like, oh, I had such a hardship, you should buy my game, right? There, for $1 a day, you can support an indie developer. But it is like the most honest telling I think we've read recently that showcases what goes into making an indie game. It's not just time and money; it can be health and personal toll as well.
Oh yeah.
And personally, actually, it does make me kind of want to buy the early access just on principle. Like after reading that, I was like, "You deserve my $20."
Hey, way to go, champ!
Preach.
Here's the money.
I may not even ever install this, but here's.
Oh yeah, I've done that with. I kickstarted a game. I had friends who worked on it, and I never played it. And I just gave my friend the key the other day because I was like, I'm never going to play this.
Yeah, but you're still proud of that.
I'm totally proud. Like my friends made that game, and I'm super happy about it, and I was happy to back it.
That's cute.
It was pretty cute.
Maybe it's hard for me to relate to this a little bit because I play games that I play for like hundreds of hours. So if I were to buy a game that only lasted an hour for $20, I may be a little more upset about it. But I don't know. Like I play games like EVE Online or Ark where my friend, he looked at his account. He's like, "Oh, I played this for 500 hours. I should probably take a break." It's like
that's so tough though, because then in that comparison level to your daily life. If you don't count the number of hours it takes to move through your colon, you ate sushi the other day and spent pretty much $20 on that meal.
It was delicious.
Yeah, and it was gone in like, I don't know, 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
Or 30 minutes from the time you ordered to when you actually walked out of that restaurant. And that was about $20 after tips. So
I kind of need food to live. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't want to. I probably wouldn't back a chef like early access. I don't want that.
An early access chef?
Yeah, he's like giving you raw food. He's like, hey, it'll be cooked later. I swear.
I like it. That's a good analogy.
That doesn't work with sushi, though.
It does not. This large fish will be filleted later.
He just gives you a fish. He's like, it'll be filleted later. I mean, but thanks for buying
You
it
can
now.
eat it now if you want. It's got to be the same.
Wait later, and it'll be better.
It's dried short grain rice and a giant salmon that he just throws like this. This is his Kickstarter video.
The rice isn't even cooked.
He shows you how sharp his knife is and donate now. Right? Okay. Anyway, any final thoughts, Bernard?
$20 is enough to spend on Brigador, I guess,
Yep.
is my takeaway.
Are there many games that you wouldn't spend $20 on, knowing that people put a lot of work into it?
Yeah, I mean, I spend the $20 and then I just refund it usually right after.
Right after you finish it and like it.
Well, after I try to play it and then realize it's just like garbage.
Well, if you can't play it, that's understandable. And so on. But if you ever finished it, then you
I mean,
enjoyed
like,
it.
Garbage isn't like quality garbage.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on.
The type you can't put in a trash can.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. I want to buy a $25 trash can to throw this $20 game in.
You
All
need
right.
that.
So, moving on. So, as games and the industry get older, many institutions, curators, and enthusiasts are trying to bank on its success. Obviously, we've seen an influx of events, installations, and spaces where people can come to interact, play, or take a trip down memory lane with video games as the focus. Enter the EMP in Seattle, and they did they've done multiple games exhibits actually. But most of the time it's just like, here's a bunch of TV screens and some history behind it, which is not a bad thing, but this kind of goes to the point. There has been some discussion about the right and wrong ways to curate these kind of events, and their increasing popularity might be approaching some kind of tipping point where it's necessary for museums to get in on it, right? Question,
Oh, God.
aren't arcades technically just curated museum installations then?
For nerds.
Yeah. Right? They have to carefully pick what they put in there. Probably not carefully at all, but
Well, if you consider something like Chuck E. Cheese's or something where they only pick like games for kids. No
Bug
food or
Hunter
anything.
2000.
Yeah, contract.
And then like 10 of them.
I don't know. I don't know. It's been a while since I've actually been to an arcade, I think.
Well,
is it really? GameWorks? I mean, any of these?
Well, that was like at PAX, so that was, I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, the article is really focusing on this group of curators that are looking at the problem from a game design perspective, which is kind of interesting in some respects, where they're saying, you know, the way you curate what goes into the museum, you have to think about the user experience from the very beginning, from when they walk in to when they leave, and what they're going to be doing all the way through. To me, I have kind of a hard time with this because I don't really quite understand what the article's main goal was, other than explaining that curation is hard.
right?
And with games, I guess the struggle is, when are you curating an exhibit about games, and when does
is the
that
exhibit a
line
game?
just become you playing a bunch of games? To which point you could just invite people over and play a bunch of games. So I don't know if that's how any takeaway you guys have.
My takeaway was I was a little bit worried about this turning into like a contemporary art museum about video games, where you just kind of explained like, oh, they got to think about the experience as they're entering the museum and how they're actually feeling about it or something. And that's not the kind of museum that I necessarily like. I would like one where they kind of just display the art and I can
Give me some history.
I like
give me some
nice
history about it. Yeah.
I like Night at the Museum. It's my
But I seriously, when I read this article, I got like flashbacks of that Louis episode where they're in that contemporary art museum, and they like, there's like a button that he presses and like people start yelling at him or something.
Yeah.
I was like,
oh my god.
I was worried about that. Like, is this what video game museums are going to become? But I don't think that's exactly what they're trying to get at or something. But
Let me give you an example that
Yeah.
might lead you to believe that's what they're going for. One of the individuals talked about an exhibit that he did where he worked on a game for a very short period of time, a few hours, that he made with a weird like clay controller that you use to control it, with the purpose being that you made a controller that nobody who knows how to play games understands, and people who do know how to play games will equally not understand, so that it's equal now. It's not just a small frustrated demographic of not knowing how analog sticks work, right? Well, when the exhibit was over, he shattered the clay controller and removed all the code from existence. So the exhibit was the exhibit. It is the moment. It is you there, and then it's like.
See, that's the problem I have with this a little bit.
Okay.
I'm the opposite. I really like that. I think that's really cool because it is unique and no one else can experience that.
Yeah, but that's not a museum of video games. That's a museum about, I guess, like game design or games or like fucking with the people that are going to the museum.
It's just
like,
art, really. That's just art.
I'm not arguing that it's not art. I'm just saying that it's, to me, museum is what it's like, a display of these pieces and like a history lesson on what it means about them, or like what's actually the story behind them, I guess. So like I go see a painting that Monet made or something. If I go to a video game museum, I guess I would expect to see like a list of Nintendo games. But I mean, I don't know. What I was reading in this article, it was more of like a contemporary experience of what gaming means to this current generation, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Well, okay, I guess maybe we should clarify a little bit that when we keep using the word gaming, but it's not necessarily interchangeable with what the purpose of the curation is, which is how do you present play?
Yeah, that's
like what it means to play, right? So in that respect, it kind of makes sense to make an installation where you just see people play with something and then you shatter it afterwards, and they get to be like, oh yeah, we were a part of this. It actually reminds me of in the music world, John Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds, which if you haven't heard of it at all, you should look it up. There's actually an amazing performance of it done by a full symphonic orchestra with a full packed house. It's insane. That's the best performance of it I've ever seen. And let me be clear, by the performance of it, I mean 4 minutes and 33 seconds of complete silence.
Yeah, I would love to be there.
Yeah,
that would have been great.
The idea behind it is that it's the only piece of music that you can write that is different every single time it is played, because whatever occurs during that 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence becomes the song of that day. I always dreamed one day that I would do this. I'd tour this in shitty bars and film myself playing, quote unquote, this piece and just seeing what kind of reactions you get. I feel like it would decay to anger really quickly, but that's just where like beer bottles being thrown or like people be like, play a fucking song, like what the fuck.
I think management would just get mad at you and throw you out, not the actual patrons.
But it's got to be one song in the middle of like a legit song. Like you play like a whole set and you're like, I'm gonna play this cover of John Cage, and here it goes, and then you just sit there. This reminds me of that kind of thing where you're like, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to run a social experiment, or are you trying to inform us about games? Because to me, those are two very different things.
Yeah.
And I feel like the article wasn't actually clear on that.
Well, I was worried that it was turning into the social experiment kind of thing a little bit, but I guess I don't know. Like I'd have to do more research on it to actually see what they're actually trying to do. But
one curation I think that is going on right now that's really, really awesome is I think the Internet Archive for the Wayback Machine, some organization that archives everything, just uploaded like 10,000 or I don't even know how many MS-DOS games that were on really old computers, like 3.1, and then just uploaded them for you to play in your browser. Yeah. Like all of them. Just and the source code or whatever. Like that's a good curating, is archiving everything and be like, okay, now you can just play this online instead of having to go get an old computer. Like that's good curation. It's just everything.
I think that's the difference between curation and curating an exhibit, though.
Yeah.
Right? Because then curating an exhibit is like game design, or at least the way the article describes it. Curation in general, is almost I'll offend people if I say categorizing, but in a way, that's what you're doing is making sure you have a good categorization of all these things so that you can pull from them later. Right.
I think this whole topic is very interesting because games are very new. They're only maybe 30, 40 years old. And so we're tackling these problems now, and we get to live through it, and that's going to be interesting. I'll have nothing to do with it, but I'll just get to read the results.
Watch it happen?
Yeah, watch it happen. It'll be fun.
Around the horn, do you guys like going to museums?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
So, all right. Let's shift our focus over to Bernard.
New York.
Yep.
No, let's shift our focos to Bernard for a sec then.
Don't you have like really good museums there?
Yeah, supposedly.
That's what I heard.
All right, what gaming museum would you go to? What's the ideal?
Like what would
make
be
you
in
go?
this gaming museum?
Yeah, you got this you got this curator who's like, dude, how do I get you, guy who doesn't like museums, to come to my gaming exhibit?
As far as games go, I don't know if there is like such a combination of things that you can just like curate for me that would like garner my interest.
Dota,
I feel like
Counter-Strike.
No, like those are like, I don't know. It's weird to talk about art and call those things mainstream. I sound like such a hipster, but
You do continue.
but it's like, I mean, there are like before like this like indie boom that we had, like there were a lot of smaller independent games that set out to do the thing. Like Robert Yang or Jason Rohrer, which were mentioned in this article, like they created like a series of small indie games that like took like 5 minutes to play, but they were set out to make you feel something, and they used a lot of same conventions that we see today in like first-person shooters or third-person shooters or platformers. But they used mechanics in different ways, where like they triggered something that you don't feel in like in Mario or in like Tetris. So I think I can experience that from home. I can experience that from my computer, which is how I experience all the games that I usually play. So there is no museum that would work in that format. I think for the crazy stuff, like there's a guy with a clay pot controller. Sure, that has to be in a museum, but that's like a one-off. That's like an eccentric, art thing that I don't really care about.
So,
Okay.
would you prefer a museum where it was just like more of an archive history of video games, where like, here's a copy of E.T. on Atari, and
that we dug up.
yeah, like
Sure, I mean, just to like look at it, but as far as like things that you actually want to experience, I mean, you can put that in a zip file. You don't need to have a museum for it.
Would you go to the museum that Nick just described?
well, yeah, like.
See a old cartridge?
Well, I'm not just saying just that.
There are more items at this museum,
Like, if you give me an example.
like other older cartridges.
Another older cartridge.
Yeah.
No, I guess not.
Like this is the
First Dreamcast ever.
They have a gold Ocarina of Time cartridge.
These are set pieces from the live action Command and Conquer cutscenes or something. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That would
Yo.
be in a video game museum, maybe. Would that be cool?
Mark Hamill is in the glass box too.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what am I getting from seeing that in person as opposed to just like seeing a picture?
Life experience.
You're growing up as a person, Bernard.
I need to be clear.
Yep.
So you'd be the same individual who says, "Fuck it, I'll never go to the Louvre because I can see the Mona Lisa by Googling the Mona Lisa."
In virtual
Well,
reality.
okay, so that's a little different because there is much more cultural history to that, of like going to this location where, this thing happened, thousands of years ago. For something as young as video games, that doesn't really apply. So in a millennia from now, like, ask a kid if he wants to go see a ET cartridge, he might be super stoked.
So you'd be really excited if like Blizzard shut down and then turned their campus into a museum.
Entire campus new museum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that would be interesting because not too many people have been through that area. Yeah. So to be one of the people,
Because this is where Ghost Crawler or Ghost Crawler like worked. Yeah.
That's how you say it.
Yeah. Like
So
I don't
you-
know.
No one wants that.
So you like older games. You go for the older ones, like the Cougars of the, I don't know.
He likes StarCraft.
Just checking. So it needs to be until gaming is thousands of years old.
Yeah.
Just you're not interested.
You're not interested in gaming until you're like 1,000 years old.
Yeah, that's the takeaway.
All right, year 3000. Bernard's gonna game. First time ever.
All right. As a test before we move on, we're gonna impart the listener on an experience, actually. Right?
Yeah?
So let's give them, think about what John Cage's 4 minutes and 33 seconds is going to be like. And to put that in perspective, we're going to give you exactly 10 seconds of silence starting right now. Holy shit, that was fucking awkward.
That was so awkward.
Okay, so
Video games, I love them.
So that was 10 seconds of silence. Can you imagine what it must be like to sit in silence for 4 fucking minutes and 33 seconds? We'll do that now. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, God.
All right, so we're going to take a short break. Hopefully you skipped over that 10 seconds of silence anyway. We'll be back in just a little bit. Last week, we continued our giveaways program by offering up 3 Dad Beat Dads Steam keys, courtesy of the folks at Stellar J Studios. We're happy to announce this week's winners are Martin B., Marie M., and Rohit K. Congrats to the lucky winners. We'll be sending out those Steam keys soon, so keep your eyes on your email inboxes. Thanks to everyone who played. Make sure to keep coming back. You're eligible each week. This week, since we really can't get enough of this game, we're offering up 5 more Gang Beasts Steam keys. Seriously, we have so much fun playing this game that it should at least be deemed illegal in Texas. Thanks to the folks at Bone Loaf for hooking us up with the keys so that we could share them with you. So make sure to check out cheatcodespodcast.com to see all the ways you can enter to win. All right, welcome back. All right, panel. It's time for the lightning round. Here's how it works. We're going to take 2 quick topics and give each member of the panel 1 minute to chime in, uninterrupted for the most part. At the end of each minute, we will award the panelist a quantity of some type of points based on nothing in particular. That's great, right?
Dingles.
Is that real?
How many dingles?
Yeah, I say dingles all the time.
How many dinglebacks? All right. First topic.
There it is.
Shut up, Nick. First topic. Games get delayed all the time. All the time. In fact, probably every game.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of that has to do with push deadlines and milestones. Sometimes bugs are elusive, Heisenbugs. Sometimes things just happen that slow development down. Maybe your beta proved to be a fucking disaster. But recently, a PS Vita game called Uppers.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, it was pushed back to an undisclosed date. So basically, TBD, right? To the fact that it didn't receive enough pre-orders just yet. Is this a weird reason to push a game back? Do you think pre-orders really dictate final sales of a lower budget title? And how many games have you purchased that you didn't actually pre-order? Things to think about before you start your minute, but I'll let you have it first.
I just had a question.
Oh fuck!
About this. Like, does this company have like a major publisher?
I think it.
You think it maybe does? Yeah. Okay.
It's probably Sony.
Probably Sony because it's on the Vita. Yeah.
It's on the Vita.
That's the only reason.
Good
call, Bernard.
All right, thanks.
All right. Well, I'm still gonna give you the first minute anyway. So, basically, what do you think about a game deciding to be delayed as a result of not getting enough pre-orders?
What do I think about a game getting delayed because of no pre-orders or not enough pre-orders? I think it's a little silly personally, but I think I can understand the reasoning, especially if they have like a large backer like Sony, where they probably go off of pre-orders a lot to sell their titles. And they may not be able to actually talk about the reasons why they delayed their game because the publisher probably told them to delay it because there are not enough pre-orders. That would be my main guess of why it actually happened. But should games delay themselves because there's not enough pre-orders?
Good question. I like that one.
I was doing the silence right there. Yeah,
that is our question.
Yeah. Why? I don't. It doesn't make any sense. So no, I guess I would say no. Like there were enough people to actually want to play this game. The game looked like it was fun. I guess I can respect what they were trying to say. The developer wanted to go back and try to make it more fun, so more people would be interested in buying it. But I don't know if it's really going to change anything.
Okay. I'm going to give you 4 followed by 5 seconds of silence.
Yeah.
It's worth a lot, I promise.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
5 seconds silence
is golden, actually. Okay, so Pearce, you get in terms of currency, I think that's
Wait, does that mean
brilliant.
if I don't talk for a full minute, I win?
Please don't. We've already gone down that road, and I'm sure the listener did not appreciate it. Okay, your minute starts now.
I think my first question is, who the fuck makes games for the Vita?
Sony.
Off topic.
Okay. Anyway, that's their first problem. The second one is, like, how do they like fully finish a game and then decide, well, we're not gonna release it because we don't have enough pre-orders? Like, that's kind of ridiculous. You should probably know before you make a game if it's gonna be popular enough to actually like make a profit, or it's like a passion project, and so you just make it because you're gonna love that game. You want to release it anyway, and I hope they're not stuck because of their publisher. But hopefully, they are able to get all the pre-orders they need with all the Vita owners out there, which is, I don't know, like 10 of them. They probably got like 5 right now. But if he is trying to make it better and make it more popular, then that's perfect. That's good because it sounds like it is a passion project. So shouts out to him.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll give you 5 passion projects.
Yes.
And that don't get released.
Damn.
They don't get enough
Are they all on the Vita?
Yeah, 5 Vita. Passion
No, they're on
projects.
the PSP Go.
Yeah. I'll take them the next minute. So I actually think, I agree with you guys in the sense that it's probably more publisher related, that they can't really tell exactly what's going on, or it's one of those like shitty bylines in the agreement that's sitting there that's like, if you don't receive X number of pre-orders, then you have to push it back until you do, or something weird like that might have caused this to happen and they're just trying to justify it. Or the last thing it could be is a publicity stunt, because this made it into an article, it made it into something we're talking about, it's something that a lot of people are talking about, so it's enough for them to just be like, oh, I should pre-order this because this game's not gonna happen. Like, it's like they sat around and said, hey, we're not getting enough pre-orders, how can we do it? Well, let's just push it back because, well, we're fucking not done with this feature anyway, and then tell everyone the reason that we're pushing it back is because we're not getting enough pre-orders, and then everybody's gonna freak out and start pre-ordering the game and telling all their friends that they need to get it and take a look at it because not enough people are. So I'm actually going to say that it's the latter. It's just this awesome publicity stunt. So
I hope so.
That's my call. You get to reward me points, Pearce. For
one Nickelback poster.
Sure. That's like 20,
one.
That's like $21.
Which one? One of the one of the $20 ones. Or?
Yeah.
All right.
You sell it on eBay.
You'll probably get more money for it than you think.
Yeah, the worst part is if I wanted to actually make money off that, I'd probably have to keep a Nickelback poster for 20 years. Which then the question is, do you keep a Nickelback poster? All right. Anyway, Bernard, final minute on this topic. Go for it.
Right. So, look, pre-orders are bullshit. I don't think they indicate how many. Like, okay, so this isn't coming out from like hard data, but like I don't think it really indicates, how many final sales there are going to be on the game. And I think it's a really stupid idea to have a game that's already agreed to be published on to be pushed back because of a lack of pre-orders. It seems kind of shady and maybe not the exact reason why it got pushed back. I guess if you push a game back, I mean, like, it's kind of doing it some good because, that's just more time for people to get more invested into the game before it actually gets released, which I guess is a good thing. But if tying this into pre-orders, it makes this thing feel like just a load of bullshit.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Okay, I'll give you 10 pre-orders.
But you can't release
one season pass.
One of the things we didn't mention right before we move on is that it's tough to even use that demographic. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because Bernard said, maybe he's going off of hard data, but the result is that a lot of people entice you to pre-order for reasons that have nothing to do with why you want to pre-order something. Like, oh, you'll get this free skin, or you get this extra thing. And now is that even a demographic, or sorry, is that even a piece of data that you can say definitively meant you were going to be successful, or is it because you gave away something that people wanted?
I don't know. I guess when you buy the pre-order, GameStop needs to add a survey that says, why did you pre-order this?
There you go.
They don't
care. And also,
care.
how was John today as your sales assistant? All right, topic 2.
Kind of a dick.
Kind of a dick, sort of a dick, mostly a dick. Okay. Ollie Barter wrote a piece for Forbes this past week. Remember, this is Forbes. Forbes articles are fun because they don't know anything about games. This past week, saying,
I feel like the real news though.
So Ollie Barter says, it was in Nintendo's best interest to steer clear of Hollywood if they plan to protect their IP. The larger argument made here basically is that most movie-based games are shit. But Nintendo, despite the Super Mario Bros. Movie from back in the day, let's forget that ever happened for a sec, right? They haven't really established a production rapport with Hollywood. They kind of stay away from it, right? So as much as we want to see Taylor Swift in the Legend of Zelda movie as Link, that's a callback to an old episode. Do you guys think Ollie is onto something? Should Nintendo stay far away from Hollywood? Those are the questions to think about. All right, first minute. I'm gonna give it to myself so I can get it over with, and then because I really want to hear what you guys think. I want to be done with it. All right. So, One of the biggest issues I have with this is you actually spent a lot of time in the article talking about how, and I'm going to go back to earlier points in the episode, that Marvel movies and superhero movies were shit, and now they're great. And that's a result of people taking a chance in an area that wasn't very good and then constantly trying until it picked up steam and then made something great out of it. So for him to say like Nintendo should just stay away, it sounds like an awfully conservative view of Hollywood. Like, are you really claiming that because stuff was shit that it'll always be shit forever? That's fucking horse shit. That's shit. That'll be shit forever. Like, you are missing out on the opportunity for there to actually be a success that could garner a whole collection of successes that follow afterwards. And that's super important. Please, Hollywood, do not stop trying. I will just not watch the ones that suck. There's no problem with making them. I just don't want to see the shitty ones.
You'll save your $20 on your movie ticket and go use it on something else. A video game.
Exactly.
Hey,
a trash can.
That's pretty good. I give you 5 VHS copies of Super Mario Bros. Congrats.
Oh god, those Koopas though, man. All right. Actually, who wants to go? Volunteer.
Hey, I'll
for
go.
that. Okay, so go for it, Pearce.
All right. I think jumping off of what Joe said is we had like two. We're gonna have 2 eras of video game movies. One was Super Mario Bros. And Street Fighter. And I don't know what other garbage ones they made back in like the late 80s, early 90s that no one liked and everyone hated. But people were like, ooh, video games, so they made them. And then they just stopped. And then excluding the Final Fantasy movie, which is not about Final Fantasy, the next video game movie to come out is Warcraft this summer. And that one's nearly fully CGI. And it's actually like taking advantage of all the superhero movies where they capitalize on CGI becoming a new thing.
Bug.
And I think that's really the test to see if video game movies are here to stay, if they're here to actually be profitable or successful or anything like that. And then I think jumping from there is it really all depends on Warcraft's success, and maybe we'll see a Halo movie after that.
That was good.
How many Zug Zugs do I get?
Actually, I'm gonna give you 3 Jean-Claude Van Dammes for Street Fighter.
No,
it was good. It was a good mention. All right, but or I'm gonna give you 2 Stop Poking Me's.
There's something me doing.
Yeah. So
Job done.
Right. We'll give Bernard the next minute. You ready, buddy?
All right,
Go for it.
Yeah. So let's not pretend like Nintendo's IPs are like this holy sacred thing. I mean, they've made shitty games before, so saying that, putting them into the Hollywood like monster and like it'll pump out like some shitty movie with that IP. I mean, that's maybe not the worst thing that could happen. I mean, like Nintendo IPs have been through worse, so for good or for worse, I think if you make a Nintendo movie, like it's not gonna hurt anything.
You got 30 seconds if you want it.
I was really concise.
Oh. Wow. What's the worst Nintendo game ever made?
Do you want a Battletoads movie?
Link.
The 2D one,
the side scroller Zelda game that came out after Zelda.
Bernard, I will give you 7 Link to the Pasts.
Not Link to the Past. That's a good.
Yeah, that's a good
Is that
one.
the good one?
Yeah, you messed
Link
up.
to the Past is good. Link is the actual name of the game.
Are you sure that was the second one?
I don't know if it's the second one, but it was the one that sucked.
I give you.
It was the second.
I give you Legend of Zelda 4 seasons, but you're only one player.
4 Swords.
4 Swords. I didn't play it. I had no friends.
Oh jeez. Yeah, Link to the Past was the Game Boy one.
Link to the Past was like the best one. I think.
that
or
one
of the
was
best
great.
one. Yeah.
I take it back.
But there was one called Link where it was. I think it was the second one, and it was just side scrolling. Actually, like you're actually like, just 2D side scroller.
Only in certain parts.
Maybe when you walked into the buildings or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanna.
We'll have to do some check on that, I guess.
It was the second Legend of Zelda game, but I can't remember the name of it now. Anyway, we'll look it up later.
All right.
So you get the last minute, Nick Golish.
What are we talking about?
Have you had enough to drink?
No, I'm good.
Well, that sucks.
I know. Elder, I got some real points, I guess, maybe.
Oh, okay. Ready to go.
See, I agree with you, Joe, a little bit, where like we're going through, where like there was a shitty Marvel movie, or there were shitty superhero movies, and then there were better Marvel movies. But there was actually like three phases. There was the out of this world Tim Burton like Batman movies and like the Superman movies, and then there was like the X-Men, Spider-Man movies that came out from Fox and Sony, and then there were the good Marvel movies. And those ones came, I think, from like Marvel actually experimenting a little bit from their own, and then Disney gobbling them up and making it great. And then in video games, we're kind of going through the same thing right now, where we had Street Fighter and Mario Brothers, and then we had like Prince of Persia and Resident Evils, and then we had now we have Warcraft, which is I don't know if that's going to be any good, but hopefully we're going to get some good movies from that coming out. I agree with Bernard also, though. Like, I don't think that Hollywood should not try to produce these movies or try to put them out, but I don't think Nintendo's the right place to start.
Okay. I'm going to give you 500,000 copies of the movie Pixels on DVD.
Oh my god. Dude, I'm so sorry, man.
Because there will be that many to spare.
That's like all the unsold ones.
As in all the ones put on the market.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, do with it what you will. You can put it next to my Nickelback poster. Store for a while. Wait, will they be worth more or less after time?
Movies don't work that way.
Hey,
Some do.
let me just repeat that I'm super excited for. Well, I don't want to see Warcraft because it's like embarrassing to me because it's like it's like orcs and crap. I'm like, oh god, this is what I played my entire life and how I got into games. But I'm excited to see the success of that and see where that leads.
Yes, Saya.
What?
Yes, me lord.
I think
Work.
I think it looks bad, but I want to see. I'll see it because I'm supporting of it, I guess. But
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know.
I'm so split on it too. Like Warcraft, World of Warcraft just transformed me so much and made me program.
And I actually like the Final Fantasy movie, The Spirits.
So did I.
Okay, final thoughts then.
Final Fantasy thoughts.
Final thoughts. Despite whether or not there was one that you think is worthy, what is your favorite video game movie around the horn?
Well, I'd say Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Prince of Persia.
I guess Resident Evil.
Which one? They're all
First one.
Yeah, that was good. First and second one were really good, I think.
Bernard, you got one? None.
Pixels.
Can't think of one.
I watched that Street Fighter movie quite a few times. I remember also.
Did you watch Mortal
Why?
Kombat too?
Oh, Mortal Kombat.
I watched Mortal Kombat 1. And I guess I watched both of them, yeah.
Okay.
Sure, I'll go with Mortal Kombat 1.
God.
Why not?
Did you enjoy them?
How about Silent Hill?
So much so. I wasn't a fan. No, it's hard. I haven't enjoyed one single video game movie.
Which one would you put in a museum?
All right.
With Ben Stiller.
On that note, I think we're done here. Episode 86 is effectively in the books. Thank you for being here, dear listener. And know that we're always curious to hear what you think. So please hit us up on cheatcodespodcast.com, Facebook, Twitter. Get in on the conversation. We love to hear what you think. We love the feedback. It's all well and good. So stay tuned for a new episode coming next week because we're so consistent every week, people. Maybe not.
Why are you pointing at me?
Oh, because I'm just pointing outward. You know,
You're probably pointing at Joe.
Pointing to the future.
He's pointing to Joe, who's not here.
I am pointing.
I'm
to
in
the
Joe's
future.
seat.
Thank you, thank you, Nick Golish. All right, make sure you check out the giveaways portion of the site and go get some free shit because enjoy it with their compliments. We like to give you free stuff. All right, remember, as always, you're just in a dream, within a dream, within a dream, where Donald Trump is running for president. See you next time.